Bitcoin just did something it hasn't done for 92 months. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what Bitcoin has just done and what's going to come next. So as you can see here, we've got Bitcoin on the monthly chart. We're just going to drop back to June 2026 because we're recording from July 2026. So as you can see here, bang, there we go. We closed below that S3 on the monthly. I would consider this an extremely bearish year, a very extended month to the downside. But this hasn't happened actually since November 2018, sorry. So if we go back to November 2018, we go here. Look, there we go. Right, so as you can see, this hasn't happened. That was obviously a lot more extended, and you can see that was the asset's a bit more mature now. So, would we see a month that extended? Maybe if there was a Black Swan event, but, what Bitcoin is, doing is similar to there. But one thing that happened last time, which hasn't happened yet, that year we closed above its S1 on the monthly. Now, this year, we haven't obviously closed yet, but as you can see here, this would be interesting. For me, that 65k, 66k is a huge level. For me, I'm looking to, reclaim that and see kind of, what's coming next. So if we go back to 2022, we closed below that S1. And we know we had a really good 2023 and, bullish 2024. So it's interesting to see what's coming next, but in this bear market, we didn't have anything as bearish on a monthly perspective. So we've got an S1 there, we've got an S1 there. So a lot of bearish months, but nothing too crazy. Kind of coming down into that S1 level, but we had nothing as significant. Even if we go back to here. We just closed below that S2. But it's really interesting to see kind of where Bitcoin is right now. A lot of the news, the sentiment, it's very bearish. It's very, bad on Bitcoin at the minute. Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme, Bitcoin's a scam. We're seeing it all, right? And sentiment's low. And typically when this happened in Bitcoin, it's gone on to do huge moves. Another big level you could argue is a close below that, 58, which we currently are. Did we close below it last month? This would be very interesting to actually look at in real time. We did. So that's quite significant. That would really, make me lean bearish just based on that level. But as you can see here, Bitcoin, done it before, right? It's just kept closing lower and lower and lower, and it's springboarded. The moral of the story is you can't predict the future. These sort of ideas and, kind of things you think of, they're just, okay, cool. That's not happened in 92 months. That's significant. But remember, it all comes back down to, can you make money from that opinion? I saw somebody on the news today complaining Bitcoin's a scam, Bitcoin's a fake, like many people are. But the question is, if they're not invested or they're not, making money on it, I don't get why they care. So from this video, I'd like to think people watching this probably care about Bitcoin, trying to think, okay, cool, how can I make money Bitcoin? Not in the next day, not in the next week, but maybe in the next 2-3 years, whether that's to the long or short side, right? So remember, these things, these theses, it's all speculative. It's all kind of, thinking of ideas. But I thought it'd be, it'd be interesting to pull up, that significant close, because what happened after, November, what happened after there was unprecedented, right? Not saying that's going to happen again. I'm not saying that's going to happen again. I'm not saying we're going to get a move like that within the next 2 years or so, right? But it's always interesting to see these, closes below these key levels on a monthly basis when you really zoom out. Where do I think Bitcoin's going? I think nothing's going to happen. Nothing happened there after, that bullish S3. Typically when you have a really, bullish month, even to the upside, if you have like an R3 month, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. If have we got one there? Look, there we go. November 2024. And if we go back to here, November 2024, nothing happened for a while, 2 months. So I would expect kind of just to drift sideways and then another move to happen from there. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. If you want to get more of an insight into this analysis and what I'm really looking at on a weekly basis, I have a newsletter. Link to that will be in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.